Not a lot of people talk about Minute to Win It nowadays. Most people have never even heard of this show, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have tons of fond memories watching the Philippines version when I was younger. I was just so invested in every single episode, it was a blast. I love this show. Like, Minute to Win It is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated game shows of all time. I think the reason not a lot of people remember it was because it was a short-lived series in most countries, like the US versions, which aired on NBC and GSN, for example, which we will be focusing on in today's video. Real ones know how freaking awesome this show was, with the host going wild every episode, the craziest party games, and how intense that 60-second countdown felt. This show was so fun to watch. Let's talk about it. First off, let's talk about the gameplay. Simply put, it's beat the clock, but on steroids, if that sounds right. There's 10 levels where contestants compete in games using household items, and the contestants have to complete these challenges in 60 seconds. Contestants successfully complete these challenges to earn cash. There's a money tree involved, kinda similar to Millionaire, with the first, 5th, 7th, or 8th levels being milestones. The game difficulty increases as the levels progress. Contestants play the whole game with 3 lives. Failing to complete a challenge loses 1. If a contestant loses all 3, the game ends with winnings dropping to the previous milestone. Successfully completing all 10 levels earned the contestant the top prize of $1 million. So yeah, who knew that items like plastic cups, balloons, ping pong balls, and soda cans could actually make you rich? I remember trying to recreate the games from the show at home, and of course, I'd play these games at parties with other people, and we'd laugh our asses off because of how ridiculous we looked. But this show took it to a whole new level of ridiculousness. Just look at games like Tortilla Head, for example, where you have to use swim flippers to land a tortilla on your head. That's totally not going to be a pain in the ass. Extreme Nut Stacker is crazy hard. Pause. You have to stay steady with a cutting board in your hand while using a chopstick to create a tower with 10 small-ass metal nuts. Like, what the hell? Then how's it hanging? How can I even explain this? Like, bro, they were really trying to make these people look like jackasses on live television. Bro, these producers are so unserious. They should have been locked up in prison a long time ago. This is straight up evil. So Minute to Win It really pulled out all the stops when it came to these wild, innovative ideas for games, amping up the craziness and the fun factor of the show. I did say that it was ridiculous, but I also didn't say that it wasn't pretty cool. It's the reason I was so invested watching this show when I was younger. It's a viewing experience that I genuinely miss. Like, imagine if we still had this show on the air. I think with its concept, it would thrive in an age with things like viral challenges and trick shots dominating the internet. It would be an absolute blast. One other very important aspect of the show that made it so fun to watch was its presentation. I mean, everything about it was just so cool to me. Where do I even start? I love the futuristic tech style of the graphics. So much attention to detail, man. It looks great. The set was perfect for the big time show it was representing. The big 60-second circle, the audience, the lights, the expansive video screens. It all kind of reminds me of the stadium used in Gladiator, and also that 60-second circle used as the playing field for the challenges. Kind of reminds me of Russian roulette. Were those good comparisons? I have no idea. Oh, and by the way, that soundtrack... Yo, those songs are nothing but hype, bro, let me tell you. The way they crafted the music for the blueprints and challenges, it really amped up the intensity of the show. I absolutely love how well it's done. It adds such an incredible vibe to the whole experience. So going back to the futuristic tech style I mentioned earlier, let's talk about those blueprint videos. Those were a nice touch. Before each game, a tutorial video would be shown on the screen in the style of a blueprint, with a female voiceover explaining the mechanics of each game. These videos are super well made. I love how much effort they put into these blueprints. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the show. They're super well made. And that female voiceover also acts as an announcer throughout each episode of the show. It reminds me of the voiceover from The Cube, a show that shares many similarities with Minute to Win It. Speaking of voiceovers, let's talk about one other major voice. None other than the host of the show, food television personality Guy Fieri. We can talk about the other guy later. The man brings a lot of enthusiasm and support for the contestants, creating a comfortable and enjoyable atmosphere for everyone involved. I feel like he's such a cool dude to be around. It's funny how he's incredibly unhinged but wholesome at the same time. I don't get some of the hate for this guy, he's awesome. His version of the show only aired for 2 seasons on NBC from 2010 to 2011. Throughout this run, there would be multiple special editions of the show, including celebrity specials, Christmas-themed episodes to begin the 2nd season, head-to-head matches, last man standing, and they even had their own $1 million mission. Oh yeah, did I mention that no contestant on this show was able to win the $1 million top prize? And you wanna know why that was the case?
This is your level 10 blueprint.
Super coin.
The dreaded Super Coin. The hardest game in Minute to Win It. This was the only game contestants could play for $1 million, and no one was able to successfully complete it. You had to bounce a quarter off a table, and it had to land into the opening of a water jug that was 15 feet away from you. It's not an easy task for sure, but my god, you would never believe how close to impossible it feels. You had to get extremely lucky if you wanted to beat this challenge. Seeing this game getting played was actually a rare sight as well. Contestants would usually reach up to level 9 and they would call it quits before level 10. The only times we saw Super Coin get played were in Last Man Standing episodes, the $1 million mission I mentioned earlier, and the first and only time a level 10 challenge was attempted by the Bishop family. Probably the best team to ever play this game. They made it to Super Coin with all their lives and an extra 10 seconds they would use on the last life. They were so close too. Brad poured in tremendous effort, but unfortunately he fell just short of victory. Cully gave it his all, but he also couldn't get the job done. Drew had to go last, armed with an extra 10 seconds. But even with 70 seconds to play, not a single quarter made it into the jug. And the Bishop family had to go home with just $500,000. Bittersweet end to an otherwise stellar performance. Minute to Win It's run on NBC would come to an end after the network announced the show would not be renewed for a 3rd season. However, in June 2013, the show would come back on the air on GSN with new host Apollo Ono and a smaller top prize of $250,000. In my opinion, this version was just as good as the NBC version. You can even make an argument that it's better than the NBC version. Apollo was a really good host. I found him a lot calmer than Guy Fieri, but he was still capable of showing tons of excitement. This version of the show shifted its focus more toward the gameplay itself rather than emphasizing the emotional aspects. The challenges remained just as fun and intense, and changes were made to the money tree to elevate the risk factor, with this version of the money tree having 3 milestones instead of 4. But yeah, it's basically the same show. There's not that much to say. I wish I can go on further, but there's not that much to talk about. But trust me, you'll still have a good time watching this show. Just like the NBC version, the GSN version of Minute to Win It had a short run, spanning nearly 2 seasons from 2013 to 2014, and this would unfortunately be the last time we would see Minute to Win It in the US. Despite its short tenure in the US, Minute to Win It continued to captivate audiences in various countries around the globe. It maintained a steady presence in international markets, enjoying extended runs and widespread popularity across numerous regions. I do hope that one day this show makes a comeback. I believe that, if done right, Minute to Win It has the potential to shine brighter than ever in today's era. Minute to Win It may not be a classic to most people, but I had the time of my life watching this show when I was younger. It was one of the first game shows I ever truly loved, and it will always have a special place in my heart.